It doesn't look like my timing's too good. It was cloudy all morning. I thought, man, I'll just run to the little city lake. And no sooner did I get the kayak loaded up than the sun popped out and it's bright blue. I think it's going to cloud back up. It's only a 15-minute drive for me, so I'm going to run back up there today. And I'm going to try to go to that south arm. There's a spot I'm looking for that I think might be a good winter spot for the muskie, which I've kind of gave up on for the time being. And I'm also going to try to hit a couple of those little holes back there where I found that big bass and see if maybe I can find another big bass or two today. If I'm real bored and can't do anything else, I'll paddle back to the other end of the lake because it's good exercise, and I'll look for some crappie. Well, the clouds are back. Actually, now it looks like I could get some rain, which is fine. I've got an umbrella with me. I always tell people I'm waterproof. I'm not electric proof though, so I hope it doesn't start lightning on me a lot. If it does, I'll probably head for the bank and take my chances under a tree. I know you're not supposed to get under a tree during a lightning storm, but I figure there's probably still a better chance there than there is out in the middle of the water with a fishing rod in your hand. But I'm going to head down to that south arm first, where I was the other day when I hooked that big bass. I haven't been able to get that guy out of my head. I kind of want a return match with him, although it looks like there's a ton of small arches on the graph here, which I noticed the other day they do show up a lot better on the video than what I was afraid they would. I've got a different camera mount on today. Hopefully that'll keep it a little more stable too, where it's not flopping around quite as much. So we will see what happens. I'm real tempted to drift a little crappie bait or something while I'm going through this just to catch them, but I think I'll wait, and if I don't get onto the regular black bass, then I'll come back and hit this. But there's lots of bait fish right here in 50 foot of water, and some small arches under it. But when you start showing arches that deep, I'm never really sure if it's some kind of thermocline, feedback, or if it's just stuff in the water down there. I noticed there's a pretty good layer there where at about 30 feet it starts showing quite a bit of dark on the screen. That again may not show up on the camera, but that tells me that the thermocline's probably at about 30%. Turn that graph one there, make that a little more visible. Above it though are several arches and like I say, a couple of good pods of bait fish. Now as I'm getting away from the bank a little farther, I'm getting away from those. This part of the lake is the deepest part, but it's never been particularly productive for me. This is kind of center lake, just about where the two, what they call the south arm, and they call it the north arm because it is north of the other one, obviously, but it actually runs kind of east and west. I typically refer to it as the south end of the lake and the east end of the lake, and then the dam as the west end of the lake. But any way you look at it, this has never been an overly good area for me, this central part of the lake here. As I was paddling by this laydown over here, there was a tremendous amount of bait fish. There was a couple of submerged trees. I don't know if they were like fish habitat that was planted or if they're just natural fall down, but they were up here not far off of this tree. I'm trying to get this turned where they were not far off of this laydown right here. So I've got a worm rigged up, and I wanted to do a little bass fishing today, and I thought, well, with all the bait fish and everything and the timber right under the surface there and about 22 feet of water, I thought I might just hit that with a couple of casts. It's actually right here where the two arms of the lake kind of meet. And like I say, this central lake has never been the best for me, but it just kind of looked awful good, and it doesn't cost me anything to throw up there. So I'm going to toss up there real fast and see if I get any kind of a hit up here around this laydown. If I don't, I'm not going to spend much time here. I'll move on pretty quick. I'm using a green pumpkin Bass Pro brand. I don't remember what they call this worm. Tournament series. I can't remember what they call this particular style of worm. It's a little bit like a Cinco. It's kind of a combination of a traditional plastic worm and a little bit of a Cinco. It's kind of a stubby plastic worm, but I actually like it. And like I say, I love green pumpkin. To me, it's just been a great color that you can pretty much use any time of year and get some action on it. I like it in my little finesse worms like the Fish Doctor. I really like it. And like I say, it's been awful good to me. I don't know for sure if I'm gonna get anything or not. I'm coming through that, I can feel coming through that brush over there. It feels more like brush than an actual tree. So it's probably just some of the fish habitat. It is all over this part of the lake. Actually, it's all over most of the lake. Over the years, they've put a lot of it in because, like I say, it's kind of a city lake for Springfield, not only for a water source, but for a recreational lake. So they've done a good job with kind of, building fish habitat into it, and then they give you a free map up there when you check in if you want it that shows where it is. I didn't get hit, so I probably, like I say, I won't spend much more time. There's a little cut right here that I'm coming up on. I might make a toss in it too. I'm using a Lew's, it's a custom speed stick, they call it. It's not a super expensive rod, but boy, it's a nice light rod. I think it's just $119 rod, something like that. And I've got a Troxani, Abu Garcia Troxani reel. Both of these were courtesy of the outlet store. The rod was $50 over there, and the reel I think was $40, so pretty cheap. And I like, the cheaper. I mean, that's not cheap, but I like stuff that's not quite as expensive if I'm going to be out there in the kayak. Looks like I found me a little snag there. I don't know if my 15-pound fluoro will be enough to pull me over there. It probably will be. It's the Cigar Red Label. I've heard a lot of, there he come loose. I've heard a lot of complaints about the red label from some guys. I love it. I've not had any problem with it at all. It's been, to me, it's been very good line. So, anyway, nothing there. I see a little stick up. I'm gonna try to use my foot instead of getting my paddle out here. Kind of a redneck paddle, so I can get to facing that little stick up. I don't know if I can get a cast over there that close to it or not. Nope, missed it by about 2 to 3 feet. Hopefully, if there's a fish there, hopefully he's hungry and willing to do the work for me. Anyway, I just wanted to toss right over there real fast, and then I'm gonna get going again. I've still probably got 3/4 of a mile or a mile to get to my fishing spot. Man. I thought I had one loading up, but I think I probably just hung a little piece of brush or something. It's hard for me to know sometimes, but anyway, the worm's balled up. I don't know if that means fish or stump or if it doesn't mean anything. Okay, I made it over here to the cove that I want to fish. And I've started out here on the point. Use my redneck trolling motor again, which is one of my legs. Anyway, I'm going to start out here on the point and fish my way in. Fish around the backside. It's gotten a little sunny, and that's not really that good, but there's nothing I can do about it. So I noticed a guy walking the banks up there. You don't see that much back in this part of the lake, but I noticed there's a guy walking the banks and casting, so maybe there's some crappie back here. That may be what he's doing. He had himself a pretty good walk in, I would think. I sure like this rod and reel. Like I say, it's a Lew's, they call it a custom speed stick, and I don't know exactly what that means. It's not a super expensive rod, but it's light. It's 7.5 foot. They rate it as a medium heavy, but it's actually pretty heavy. I throw some pretty big baits on it. And it's very sensitive. I've got a Abu, I think it's called a Troxani reel. Again, not a super expensive reel. I don't use real expensive stuff in my kayak, even though I keep floats on it. You just never know. And plus, it's a lot easier to break a rod in a kayak. So I don't have much trouble with it, but you can snap a tip if you're not careful. I've got a couple of buddies that have done it. And I don't use the little rod tip protectors in this kayak much, but I guess they'd help if you were going under brush or something like that. Oh, there's a little hit. I don't know what it was, but I don't know if he's going to come back and take it or not. Well, shoot. That's an awful big worm for a bluegill to be hitting. I guess it could be. But whatever it was, he didn't come back after it. So I love the green pumpkin color for bass. I've done well with it in about every lake I've fished in, and I've done well with it about every time of year. I don't fish it, obviously, all year, and especially not Texas rigged, but it's just been an awful good one to me over, like I say, over the years. I used to fish nothing but purple, and that's because I'm, older, and back when I was young, that purple worm was the hot ticket. But like I say, anymore, I've kind of gone to about any color as long as it's green pumpkin.